Hi everyone, it's Theo Alali here, and today I'm being joined by a good friend of mine, Ryan Luke. Ryan's an experienced property investor that lives in Newcastle, so I'm delighted to be joined by him today. So today's topic really is just going to be about how to get educated about property and what you should be doing. So Ryan, thanks for joining us, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself for those people that don't know you?
Yeah, we obviously I've been in property for quite some time now. Probably bought my first house in 2007, but probably since 2011 really taken some traction. Fell into service accommodation by accident, and I've obviously taken that by the scruff of the neck and sort of really blown that up. Which was pretty decent until obviously COVID. But then even with COVID, we've managed to battle through and things are picking back up now. And then, well, as you know, your kind of journey just takes you kind of in all sorts of places, doesn't it? You know, you don't really. I only set out to have a couple of buy-to-lets as a bit of a pension, really. And here we are today with a full-scale property business doing everything: HMOs, single lets, SAs, refurbishments, cleaning, also.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we set out in property, we never think about that we're going to scale this into a full-time business. We just think of it as it's a safe place to park your money, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you kind of once you get a bit of experience in it, you start seeing that light at the end of the tunnel of actually I can earn money whilst I sleep here. So I can I effectively run my business from a beach in wherever. In it
South Shields.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the pull for property for most people is it does give you that sort of freedom and if you get it right, you can literally run it from anywhere in the world. I don't believe it's passive. I think anyone that says property is passive is probably lying. I think even when they're handed off to estate agents, it's still not passive. But if you get it systemized properly and processes properly, you can make it quite passive anyway. So
I mean, I'd be very wary of people that sort of tell you that property is a passive income and you can say that takes barely any management or anything like that. They've always got a sort of hidden agenda, haven't they? But it can be as passive as it can be because, like you said, by putting those systems and procedures in place, outsourcing a lot of the work to letting agents, or if you've got staff, etc.
I mean, like today, I've probably done. I don't think I've done anything today for the property business or operation side of things, But I know that we've got tenants out there, we've got refurbs on the go, we've got guests staying in numerous locations. You know what I mean? So it can be when we say it's sort of non-passive. It's still probably a lot more passive than a 9 to 5 sort of grind.
100%, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's 100% more passive than working for somebody else or working in a 9 to 5 or even being self-employed or anything along those lines where you're exchanging your time for money. And that's the difference here. Your money's working for you rather than you working for money, and that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you get it right, but you can also get it very wrong, and I have seen that. I have seen some of my mentees maybe, in the early stage pull the trigger a bit too early, maybe not ask the right questions. And I've actually had quite a lot of phone calls with people wanting to sort of join the coaching programs and the discovery calls that I have with people. And some of the stories they tell me are quite horrifying, really. But it kind of all boils down to the fact that they probably didn't get fully educated before they invested some money.
Well, funnily enough, that's what today's conversation is going to be about. So, it's just basically getting across to people how to sort of get started and how not to fall into these traps. So, how did you get started then, Ryan?
My first. This is coming back to the education.
We're going way back now, aren't we?
my first property was an absolute disaster. I had my first tenant burnt my garage down, and so I got that fixed on the insurance, which I can't remember how much it cost, but it didn't properly get fixed. It was like a botched job. And then the second tenant trashed the house, and that cost us about $7,000 to repair or something like that.
Is it all the same house?
This is the same house, so this actually that actually put me off being a landlord for quite a number of years. I was a bit like, nah, I've blown a fortune on that. So, I was actually, but back then I knew nothing. I didn't really know how to invest. I didn't know how to look after the properties. I didn't know to check on tenants regularly, all that sort of stuff. So that was quite a sharp learning curve for me. And then it was, I guess, what sparked my interest to like really kick forward was a couple of things really. But one of the things that I was watching many years ago was I was kind of watching Grant Cardone's journey of how he was doing this multi-let sort of. He was buying multi-family homes in the States and he was flipping them, and he was buying more and more and more with the same pot of money. Effectively, I figured out in the end, because at first I was like, I'm going to do that in the UK, but then that doesn't exist in the UK. You know, I remember searching for like these massive apartment blocks with like hundreds of units.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about like how am I going to fund it or will even like, you know, I've been a bad landlord with one property, so I'm going to manage like 200. I mean, I quickly figured out that doesn't really exist over here. But I also figured out that he was basically doing BRR, but on multi-family homes or U blocks.
He was just doing it on bigger scales, wasn't he?
Yeah. So then that kind of led me on to, I guess, the BRR stuff, and then I just sort of went deep into that and just read books and podcasts and I'm very good at when I want to do something and want to know something, I'll research it to the end of the world. And I'll make sure I pretty much understand at least 95% of it before I kind of put it into practice. And when I get enthusiastic about something, I can do that in quite a quick space of time because I'll just like immerse myself in it. Which is kind of a good trait to have, I guess. But
I mean, things that what I see a lot in people that are just starting out in property is, you know, how you said you'd research 95% of property. A lot of people sort of want to research 100% and sort of know absolutely everything about it before they take the first step. There's a fine line between how much you sort of research and then when you start to implement, because you can research till the end of the earth, but if you don't implement it, then you're not going to see any anything come to fruition, really, are you?
Yeah, no, I think you've got to eventually take the plunge, haven't you? And you've got to it is investing at the end of the day, so you've got to take a risk. And then, you know, it's just getting out there and getting that experience, and hopefully you've done enough due diligence or you've done enough research that you stay on the right side of things. But I've seen, like, you know, these sort of rent to SA deal sources pitching deals, and I've had them pitched at me, and the gross revenues that they're predicting are just so far out. They've never been to the city. They don't know what the areas are like. But then there's people as well that, you know, because obviously we manage service accommodation as well, and we've had the phone calls where, can you help me? I'm like in a black hole here. I've taken this rent to SA deal on. It's blowing like $1,000 a month. Can you sort of help us? And you look at the numbers and you're just like, what due diligence did you do? And they're like, well, nothing really. The guy just rang me up and sort of said, I'm going to earn $1,000 a month. And, you know, and they go investing in these furniture and all this sort of stuff. And it's like,
and then charge you a few £1,000s for the privilege as well.
Exactly. But you know, and it strikes me as odd how people are willing to pay $2,500-3,000 for deals, yet they're not willing to spend 50 quid on a book or £12 on a book, or, you know, and sort of just put the time and effort into sort of educating themselves so they can then find their own deals and do it themselves time and time again.
But
I guess that's the difference between.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And it also shows the importance of like your network and the people that you surround yourself with. Because if you've got a deal that you're you're not too sure about, you've done the due diligence as much as you can do, then it doesn't hurt really to just send it over to a friend of yours that's maybe a few steps ahead of you, just to sort of glance their eyes over it and just make sure that you're on the right track.
Yeah, I think the thing about the property game is like people are willing to help and share knowledge, and I think everyone realizes there's enough property out there for everybody. So it's not like some industries where you keep your secrets to yourself and you don't let anyone else know, and you build your business that way. Whereas I think the property game, it's very much just everyone just shares knowledge and are willing to help people and pass deals on, or as you say, like run some numbers through and just make sure you stay on the right side of things. I do think if you help enough people, eventually people will, like for me, for example, a lot of people say I give too much away for free in terms of the coaching side of things, but I do think that that it goes full circle. I think if you give enough away, then eventually the ones that want to join you, and then you get the ones who will unfortunately just sweep up free content for the rest of their lives. And yes, some of them will do very well from it, but some of them will maybe not. But I don't think there's a right and wrong way about education. I think the only thing I know is
for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the more you consume from, like, I actually wish I had probably got a mentor or worked alongside somebody else a lot more experienced at the beginning, because I'd definitely be in a much further position than I am now. But it's easy to say. It's easy to say that in hindsight and stuff. But it's not for the fact that you couldn't teach yourself it. It's just the fact that I think you learn so much more and you learn it a lot quicker.
You're fast tracking, aren't you? It's like a fast track, isn't it? Because
it's like driving through a crash course. They do the 1 week crash course where you can pass your test. That's basically all it is. Rather than having to do your lessons and do your tests and your theory and all that, you just get it done in a week, just bang, and it's done.
100%, yeah, because you're leveraging off that other person's experience and knowledge, and they've been through everything that you're currently going through.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with that. I mean, Tarek's just mentioned that you sometimes look at the numbers and start thinking that it's you that's got them wrong. But that's what, just touching on what we said earlier, that's when it doesn't hurt sort of reaching out to your network, and just getting them to really cross-reference it and cross-check it.
Yeah, I think with your numbers as well, it's like you can only do as much due diligence as you can on a piece of paper. You still don't know what a value is good. Now, I had a property down valued 40 grand the other day. Like, the value was on glue. Like, he wasn't even looking at the right property. All the comparables are like, it's just no way. I've just sacked them off completely. I don't even want to discuss it with him. I've just gone different lender and I'll fund it a different way. And then I know the reval will come up. Honestly, it was just every single one of us, my broker, myself, everyone who involved in the deal was just like, that is just not even right, So you cannot always predict what they're going to do. But also, I think, and I was probably a bit guilty of this at the beginning, especially when you've kind of only maybe got one pot of money to spin around initially, as well as you almost look for that perfect deal. And I think we had a bit of a chat about this on the last time we had a call. You end up buying nothing because you're waiting for that perfect deal. Whereas if you just
the opportunity cost of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I did a video the other day which I think was titled like, I hate having money in my bank account. Which, most people would be like, what do you mean? But I do genuinely. I hate having money in my bank account because I feel like it's wasted.
You can pass it over to me if you want. I'll send you my bank details.
Yeah, no worries. There's an interest rate on it. But you can, you could sit on your money for 6 months. Well, you could have bought 2 or 3 deals in that time and had the cash flow out of it. And
exactly, agree with that. You get these people sort of looking for that perfect deal, and there's no such thing as a perfect deal. But if you're willing to pay a little bit more or sacrifice on that few percent of ROI or whatever it is, then you get that deal over the line, you get it cash flowing, and then you get to move on to your next one a lot quicker. And it's that opportunity cost that people don't see it early on in their career.
Yeah, I also think once you've got a bit of experience, whether it's 1, 2, 5 deals, whatever it might be, money then starts to like come to you. Like people that are more willing to invest in you, and they can see what work you've done before, and so it actually becomes. So at the beginning you think, well, I've only got this little pot of money to play with.
Yeah.
In actual fact, getting yourself going is going to open up more doors for you. You will end up getting funders who'll come and knocking on your door and saying, I've got some money. Do you want to, do something or whatever? And we've had that, probably in the last 6 months, quite a lot.
Yeah, I've had that myself. I mean, since I've been I'm experienced in property, been doing it for a few years now. But since I've been sort of posting it on social media and building that brand around it, I've had quite a few people come up to me and say that they've got X amount in the bank, they're willing to invest it in me for a fixed return. Because obviously people aren't getting anything in the bank at the minute. So if we can offer that service, then we will, and that all comes with experience and education, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think probably more so. Well, it's the education to pull it off, but it's more so the experience to prove that you can do it. And like I'm the same on sort of the. Obviously, we do control strategies as well. So I'm the same with like rent to rent and rent to SAs. If we've ever got a landlord that's a bit nervous about it because he's never done it, I just give him the lockbox codes and he goes and lets themselves in and have a look at some of the sort of properties that we've got set up, and and then they pretty much just ring you back and say, right, yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. Let's go ahead. So you have that sort of showcase of a portfolio to show off a bit, and again, it helps you just get another deal over the line.
Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? So, I mean, with people that sort of are wanting to sort of read up about property and get those first steps into education, what are your top 3 books? What books would you recommend?
I did. So, what's Rob Moore's? What's it called again? Multiple streams of income.
Multiple streams of income. Yeah.
That was a good book. I think there's a lot of good content in there without it being too going off on too many tangents. And I am a firm believer you can do all strategies at once. I don't think you need to focus on one. I think you can just do them all at the same time. What else we got? I probably listen to podcasts more than anything. I listened to a good book, Clockwork by Mike. Oh, it's like Swakowski or something like that. His surname is. That's more of a business book, but it's about making sure that you don't get sucked into the operations, that you starve yourself and you stop growing. And I think that happens a lot, especially when you start building. So you end up, especially if you go into like service accommodation or HMOs where they're a bit more time intensive, you end up running around, cleaning places, getting shampoos from Aldi, and when people should be like focusing your time on finding more deals and making more money. And that I definitely fell into that trap many years ago. And then I've listened to this book and kind of put it right for me. Is that enough?
Yeah, that's enough. Yeah, I mean, you touched on podcasts as well. So, what are the top 3 podcasts that you'd recommend people listen to if they want to get started in property?
I quite like. I mean, I haven't listened to podcasts for a bit, but I quite like Tej Talks. I think obviously from his journey from the beginning and just kind of listen to how he does it. I think he interviews well, so it's quite a good listen.
Yeah, definitely recommend that one. Been on it myself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. What else we got? Is it the Property Hub?
Property Hub, yeah, by the 2 Robs, yeah.
That's it. No, it's not that one. It's the 2 where there's Alistair Cunningham and the other guy. They're all right. They're always good crack. They're always winding each other up. Yeah, I think some of these podcasts can be a bit like they've got to be entertaining as well. I tend to just when I was heavily into podcasts, I'd listen to that instead of listening to like the radio in the car. So whenever I was in the car, I'd flick a podcast on. And I'll tell you what, let me have a quick look and I'll tell you. What about you? What do you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, so I listen to Tej Talks. I listen to the Property Hub by the 2 Robs. I also listen to the J2 Hub by James. And they're all good podcasts that are around property, really. So I definitely recommend people sort of get into them. Yeah,
that Kevin Thingy from the SA Soldier, his were quite good, but I don't think he does many of them anymore.
Is it specifically just SA, is it?
That was specifically SA. obviously I'm like quite big into marketing. So as well as property, I do think you need to be marketing your business. So I did spend a lot of time listening to Gary Vee. I think obviously he's huge in America, but he is like a marketing genius and he knows what he's talking about. And Russell Brunson as well. He's again another sort of
Brunson, yeah. I mean, he's a legend when it comes to ClickFunnels, isn't he?
Yeah. So kind of that's what all of our platforms are built on. So we kind of do a lot of the ClickFunnels stuff. But I think you can bring it over into the property game. You know, your lead generation on Facebook. And you know, and that just helps you get more and more deals, really. So.
So what about what's your views on mentoring and training and courses and that type of education?
Well, I guess it's easy for me to sort of say you should do it because I guess I do teach it, but I've been on a mentorship with Grant Cardone, which I paid for. I think that was £6,000. I paid 10 grand for a marketing mentorship back in 2017. That's the best 10 grand I've ever spent. I've definitely turned that into more than six figures from that alone. That I think if you can generate leads for your business, you're always going to have a pipeline. And if you've always got a pipeline and you're good at closing, or you don't even need to be good at closing. If you've got a big enough pipeline, it's a numbers game. You're going to get deals through. So I have spent. I've been on another one. I've spent a lot of money on training and books and mentorships. Well in excess of probably 25, 30 grand. So I'm not shy of sort of buying training, and I do think it's something you should go in here. There is all the information's out there for free, and I say this all the time. It's all out there for free, and what I coach and what I teach and what's in my video programs and all that sort of stuff, you can find for free. All we do is just accelerate the results because we just, we get you focused from day one, and if you're going off a beaten track, we bring you back, and as you'll know and we know, we kind of. I was having to sort of read a book before I could take action. Well, that could take a week. Where you might only be looking for one thing out of that book. Like you might be looking for like a BRR strategy. Well, I could teach you a BRR strategy in 15 minutes, and then you can go out and take action and do it. So I just think it accelerates your results. So it depends. Again, it comes back to that like opportunity cost. So do you want to spend whatever 2, 5, 10 grand on training, whatever the cost is, and get your results in 6 months or 12 months? Or do you want to do it yourself and get results in 5 years? Obviously, there's a lot of exceptions that I guess pull it off a lot quicker. But I bet behind the scenes, they're absolutely soaking content up like day in, day out, and every spare minute of the day, they're soaking content up. So,
no, I mean, I agree with that. It's, I mean, most of the content is out there for free. So not free or relatively low money. So, I mean, there's loads of videos on YouTube. There's loads of podcasts. There's loads of books, and I think that's a good place to get started. But if you do want to sort of accelerate your education a little bit further and sort of, like you said, fast track, then by leveraging somebody who's quite experienced, like a mentor, is a good way. But I would always encourage somebody to sort of do that research about that person, make sure that they're talking. Make sure that they're doing what they're talking and they're doing exactly what they say, and that they're investing in property themselves and they're active, which obviously I know that you are. So
I did hear again another horror story where they went on one of the courses and the guy was pitching service accommodation training, but he didn't actually have an SA himself.
That's alarm bells, isn't it?
He had HMOs and single lets, but he didn't have any SAs, and he was pitching SA training. It's like, well, how can you do that? If as you say, if you haven't even got it yourself. But it's each their own. I think as well with training, it's kind of it's who you resonate with and who you especially the mentor side of things. I think you've got it. It's like my program's a 6-month program, so we've got to want to work with each other. It's a relationship. We get on. We have a good crack, and and I like to see them grow, and I like to see them pull off, and we have support groups, and they all get on there as well. They're all kind of like-minded individuals, and so it's got to be the right fit as well as just the right person in terms of their education and their knowledge. Because you've got to get on as well, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And Tarek's asked a question. So he said, if let's say someone's got £2,000 to start an education, what would you say to start with?
Rent to SA, get your cash flow going, and then from that turn that 2K into 4K, 4K into 10K, and then obviously you start looking at other stuff after that.
No, so he said if there's a £2,000 budget for education, how would you start with? Not £2,000 property.
There's plenty of stuff out there for that type of money, and you can buy my video course for half that. So, so no, there's some good stuff out there for for cheap, or not cheap, but lower cost, I guess. It's only really, I think, when you get to the mentor type stuff where you start paying decent amounts of money, because that's where, like, the mentor, I have to exchange time for money effectively on the mentor program. So that takes time out of my property business. It takes time away from sourcing and dealing and making decisions and all that sort of stuff. So, which is hugely important to the business. So you've got to kind of get well paid for that, I guess. And then you're also setting other people up on their journey as well. But you could buy some decent books and just get stuck in yourself if you can speed read. Another good tip, I actually, with what I've started doing with books, is buy them on Audible and listen to them on 1.5 or 2 times speed, and you get through them like twice as quick.
Yeah, you get a lot more through, don't you? Yeah, it's a good little hack, that 1.5, 2 times speed. As long as you can keep up with it, it's a good hack.
When you read a full book, you never soak in all the content anyway, because you end up daydreaming and stuff through pages. So it's the same with the 1.5 and 2 times. You can just focus on the bits that grab your attention and you listen to it, and then if need be, you listen to it again at some point.
Yeah. So Shane's just asked a question. He's asked, what did you do before for a living before property, and at what point did you give your day job up for property?
I was a finance. Well, I've done quite a few things, but I started as a semi-pro golfer, so I'll give that a little whirl. That didn't work out, and then I went into financial advising. So I lived in Dubai for a couple of years, and I was kind of advising over there. I was a mortgage advisor as well. So I've kind of always been in the sort of financial game, and then involved in a couple of other businesses as well, which are kind of non-finance related, and still am involved in them. But the property gig, just as I said, it was just a retirement sort of plan. Being a financial advisor, I didn't have a pension, didn't want a pension, couldn't see the value in a pension. So I wanted a different option, and kind of chose property, I guess, and then kind of just slowly built, and then it kind of, I think it gets to a certain point, doesn't it? And then it just really starts to take off and snowball, and then you can kind of see the light, and you're like, right, let's push this hard. So, and I think that's where I'm at now. I've got a 4-year plan basically, and then that's me. See you later.
Yeah. Okay. So me personally, I was an engineering project manager. That's what I'd done before property, and it was once the point when I left my job was when my income from property basically replaced my income from my day job, and that's the tipping point of when I decided, I'm going to leave my my day job to concentrate on property full time. But alongside that as well, I've opened up a project management company as well with a friend of mine, and there's a lot of transferable skills there. So we also project manage like refurbs and conversions. So I hope that answers that question. And Chris has asked a question. He said, what do you think is a decent pot of cash to begin with for BRR?
I think I get asked this quite a lot with having sort of students all across the UK, but it totally depends on the area you're going to invest in, because we can buy houses in the northeast for 50, 40 grand, and you effectively only need 15 to 16 grand to get that done. 20 grand probably including refurb. Yet you could buy the same house in Reading, because Liam looks down there, and it's 200 grand. So you need 40, 50 grand as to get going down there. So I think it does depend on your area and what you're buying, and but if you want to, you can do it. I think I think about 20 grand is get going. I think that's a decent pot of money to get your first one going. Spin it, do it properly, bit of refurb cost plus your solicitors and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it all depends on the area. So if you're investing in London, then 20 grand's not going to get you very far. But if you're investing in the northeast, for instance, 20 grand could be a house deposit. So it's all relative to the area.
You can buy a house for 20 grand.
Buy a street for 40.
Yeah, it's not growth, but I think if you're investing in the north, I'm not investing for asset growth. I'm investing for cash flow, and I'll still have the properties in 20, 30 years time, and no doubt they will have gone up, but I'll have had the amount of cash flow out of that over that period of time, and that's why I invest up here as opposed to down in London and not getting much of a return, but getting a huge capital growth. So everyone's different, and everyone's got different strategies, and that's what's good about property as well.
Yeah. Tarek's asked the question. I think this is going to be the last question before we log off. But Tarek's asked, what bracket of property price-wise is the right kind of property to look at for BRR? I.e., is it between 80 and 120,000, or is it higher?
Do you know? Again, it depends. But what I did say, I was talking to the other day, one of my Nick. We were having a good chat, and he was struggling a bit with these figures, and I was sort of saying, why don't you look at some cheaper stuff? Because if you think about it, for BRR to work, you need about, I don't know, anywhere from 16 to 25% below market value to make them work and kind of get most of the money back out and keep your pot alive. Whereas, so if we buy a 50 grand house and we get 10 grand off, well, that's 20% off the price below market value. Whereas, and 10 grand off a property, although it's a lot cheaper, it doesn't sound a lot. Whereas to get 20 grand off 20% off a 200 grand property, you're asking for 40 grand. Most people are just going to kick that off straight in the touch. No chance, Whereas, if you've got a 50 grand property for 42 grand, the vendors probably think that's an okay deal, but you're actually getting that for like 18% below market value.
Yeah.
But I think between, to answer your question, 50 and 125 grand is probably a good range.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's very relative to the area that you're invested in. But it's not, I wouldn't say what price wise. I think it's all about how much discount you get, because if you're only going to get 5% discount, then it's not really going to work on for BRR. It's not worth it. But if you were getting 20-25% below market value discount, then it is worth it to refinance it later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I mean, but at the same time as well, you're not just investing to get all your money back out of the deal. You're investing for cash flow and yield. So you want to make sure that your yield and your cash flow is right as well. And I mean, for me, the sweet spot in the northeast is around anywhere, like you said, between 50 and £100,000 in here, and I mean where I invest, and I think that's a sweet spot because I mean I still get decent rent. I mean, we're looking at 8%, at least 8% yield, which cash flows quite well.
Yeah.
So, right. And I think that's more or less it, questions wise. But I think if you've got nothing else, we're going to end it. But thank you very much for your time, Ryan. I hope everyone enjoyed the Q&A, and till next time, see you later, guys.
Penguins.
Cheers, Ryan.
See you later.
Yeah, bye.